here a full program, which is great. I want to make just 2 or 3 simple points. The first point is that Israel wants peace. The second point is that unfortunately the Palestinians, who represent a radical and Islamic Arab world, does not want peace, and more than they want to build their own country, they want to destroy ours. And the third point is the challenge is, what you and I understand, the challenge is to bring this story to the public attention, here in the United States, in the world, and everywhere. And this is the great challenge of our times, because the political warfare which is being waged upon us is just as dangerous as terror and the military warfare that we have all succeeded to defend ourselves against. And this is something which we're still fighting, and we have not found the best way to defend ourselves. Now, the fact that Israel wants peace is a no-brainer if people just will open their eyes and look at the facts. In 1979, when Egypt and Sadat came over to Jerusalem and made peace with Israel, a true peace with end of hostility and recognition of Israel's legitimacy, we made peace with great sacrifice. Israel gave the entire Sinai to the Egyptians for the 3rd time, to the last inch. Does that mean we are occupiers, we are expansionists, we are warmongers? No. When we see a partner which is trustworthy and wants peace, we make the necessary and painful compromises. The same thing repeated itself in 1994 with King Hussein. And also with the same attitude, the Israelis went to the Palestinians with the Oslo Agreement. And throughout the Oslo Agreement until now, there were many offers, very generous offers to the Palestinians. Ehud Barak in 2000, Ehud Olbert in 2008, that went towards the Palestinians not 50% to find a common ground and compromise. They went 98 and 100% their side, to no avail. And this is not a way to make peace. If you analyze in an objective way the Israeli position and the evolution of it versus the Palestinians, you see from 1993 until now, Israel has moved over all the way to recognize a Palestinian state, which has never actually been existing in history. And that would be a twist, an irony of history, that the Jews are the ones who create a new Muslim country or state in the Middle East whenever they're ready for it. And you look how Israel's position have been changing, accommodating more and more towards the Palestinians. Now, if you juxtapose that against the Palestinian position and tactic of negotiations, and you look at their starting point in 1993, and you look at their position now, you wouldn't find any difference. They did not budge an inch. And this is the truth, the sad truth of the story. And this is what Israel detractors either refuse to understand or very willfully changing the situation against Israel. And this is what we're fighting against. Now, there are 3 litmus tests for the Palestinians to understand whether they want peace or not. I mean, I think we have proven that Israel wants peace. By the way, peace for Israel, and here in a Jewish crowd, I don't have to explain that for us as Jews, peace is not just a strategic choice. It's a moral obligation. And we have proven, as we said, how much we are willing to live in peace and how much we are willing to give for peace. The Palestinians, some say they want peace. I'm not talking about Hamas. Hamas, which represents today 50% or more of the Palestinians' public, say out in the open that they want to destroy us. They want to destroy the Jewish people, who are sons of pigs and sons of monkeys. Don't take it from me. They say it in all their charters and in their websites. Okay, but then there is Abu Mazen and the Palestinian Authority, who say, well, the Hamas is not representing us. We will take care of them. We saw how they took care of them in Gaza in 2007. Although Hamas was outnumbered by the PLO and Abu Mazen forces 10-1, in 6 hours they took over Gaza. Without Israel's presence in the West Bank today, Judea and Samaria, Abbas would not have a seat. He would be thrown out and Hamas would take over, bringing Iran right into our borders. But let's say that there is no Hamas, only the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority, Mr. Abu Mazen says he is for peace, and he recognized Israel, and he is for two states solution. By the way, he will not say two states for two peoples. The title of the Roadmap to Peace, 2003, which we started the whole dialogue to end the conflict, was titled, and I was privileged to be one of those who worked on that when I was in Washington. It was titled Two States for Two Peoples. You don't hear two peoples anymore. Abbas will not utter two peoples. None of the Palestinians. Unfortunately, you don't hear many Europeans. Only the Israelis say two states for two peoples, and you would hear it sometimes in Washington. Now, why wouldn't he utter that? That's one question. Secondly, although he wants peace, and he says he believes in coexistence, what does he teach his children? I'm talking about the Palestinian Authority, not the Hamas. In the Palestinian Authority textbooks, from first grade to high school and universities, there is no Israel, and they are taught that the whole land is theirs, and they should claim it. And this doesn't go just for the West Bank and Gaza, which they have. They have 100% of Gaza. They have 40% of the West Bank, which controls 98% of the Palestinians. This is the Palestinian Authority. This was a result of Oslo A and Oslo B. Nobody talks about the fact that we have withdrawn, that now most of the Palestinians are being controlled by Palestinian Authority, not by Israel, occupation. But they are taught to claim also the Negev and the Galilee and Jerusalem and Haifa and Tel Aviv, my house in Hod HaSharon, everywhere. This is where we judge them by, not what they say in the UN or international forums, but what they teach their people. This is the first litmus test that they have to pass in order for us to believe that they want peace. So we will take the necessary risks, if you will, to move forward. And then there is the issue of refugees. If you want to build your own state, why do you want your people to go to a different state, to a neighboring state? This is also telling. Do they want to just inundate Israel with Palestinians, Arabs, so we will cease being a Jewish state, change the character, take us, from within? What is it? Is it really something which is called the right of return? This is the most euphemism I can think of. There is no right and no return. According to international laws, according to all precedents from any legal point of view, any moral point of view, refugees, descendants, are not refugees anymore. Ask the 20 million refugees in Europe after World War II or World War I. Ask the people of Pakistan or Rwanda or Darfur or anywhere else. We are not talking about refugees anymore because the original people who left as an act of war, most of them because of the Arab exhortations to leave, to clear the way to push the Jews out of the sea, they are no longer there. We're talking about fourth or even fifth generation. They should not be refugees. Why were they kept in subhuman conditions? Only as a pawn, as a political tool against Israel. And these refugee camps are not only existing in Arab countries like Lebanon or Syria, but also in the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority, which was established as a result of the Oslo agreements, 93, 94, 95, Oslo A and Oslo B. They still keep their own people in refugee camps after they have received billions of dollars to actually rehabilitate them. The Palestinians, since 93 until now, received per capita more than the Europeans under the Marshall Plan in World War II. Where is all the money? Either in Switzerland or went for explosives and for weapons. So you see, as long as they keep the demand of the refugees' right of return, as long as they do not say 2 states for 2 peoples, as long as they continue to teach their children to claim the entire land, what kind of peace are they talking about? And then there is another issue, which is a Jewish state. They will not recognize Israel as a Jewish state. Abu Mazen just a year ago said in 1,000 years he will not recognize Israel as a Jewish state. What does it take from them to recognize Israel as a Jewish state? Why wouldn't he want to do that? Does it take anything away from them? By the way, according to the diplomatic rules of reciprocity, once Israel in 1993 recognized and respected the right of the Palestinians for self-determination, they should do the same. This is the minimum. And they should let us determine ourselves. We determine ourselves, self-determine ourselves as a Jewish state or the nation state of the Jewish people. Why? Because this is our DNA, this is our identity, this is our history, and this is our future. And for them not to recognize it is not only falsifying history, it's also arrogance, but it has also a political motive. Because by recognizing Israel as a Jewish state, that means that this is the end of claims and the end of the conflict. But how can they continue to claim the land and teach their children to claim the land if they recognize us as a Jewish state? So all their excuses not to recognize Israel as a Jewish state because it's anachronistic. We don't have religious states anymore. Tell this to the Arab Islamic republics or the 557 Muslim countries. They're also Christian countries. But by recognizing Israel as a Jewish state, it's not necessarily based on religion. You and I know that Judaism is not only a religion. It's a way of life. It's a tradition. It's a whole civilization. So for them not to recognize it and give all kinds of pretexts is just wrong. The other pretext that they give for not recognizing Israel as a Jewish state is because if they recognize Israel as a Jewish state, then what happens to the Israeli Arabs? The 20%, 1.5 Israeli Palestinians who have grown from 120,000. Those Palestinians or Arabs that did not move out of the country as the result of the war and stayed, prospered. And today they're 1.5 million, full rights, equal opportunities in Israel. And they are not missing a thing by living as non-Jews in a Jewish state. The fact that we are a Jewish state doesn't mean that non-Jews do not have all the rights and all the opportunities. We as Jews should be the first ones to understand it. For 2,000 years, we were spread in 135 different countries. We lived under Muslim rule, we lived under Christian rule, and it didn't bother us. There was no dissonance between being a Jew in Poland or in Germany or in Russia or in England and being loyal and true to our faith and being loyal to the throne. There shouldn't be any dissonance. So just as we as Jews lived for 2,000 years under Christian or Muslim rules, we understand that there shouldn't be any problem for non-Jews to live in a Jewish state with all the opportunities. So all these excuses can be easily dispelled. I had, maybe 3 years ago, an argument, I had a debate with a Palestinian ambassador in the UN. And he was trying to mock at me and says, what do you mean you need us to recognize you as a Jewish state? You don't know who is a Jew. You're not sure of your traditions or of your identity. You need me to recognize you. And I said, no, Mr. El-Kidwa at the time. I don't need you to recognize me as a Jewish state in Hebrew, not even in English. Do it in Arabic, because this is what's important for the future and for the children. So for us, and this is, I think, our challenge to explain to the world, friends and foes alike, but especially friends who do not understand us, not in Europe and some not in the United States, that a piece of paper for us, or a peace treaty is not a piece of paper. It should really mean changing reality, changing the reality from a zero-sum game right now with the Palestinians to a win-win, from a conflict to a peaceful coexistence, to historic reconciliations. And this is what we need. This is the obligation of our leaders to make sure the existence of Israel and the security of Israel and the well-being of Israel, not just for the next 5 years or 50 years or 500 years, but for eternity. This is our obligation, especially our generation, which is the generation of Geulah, of redemption. I think we are the most fortunate generation in the last 100 of generations, in the last 2,000 years. And we have seen our people rising from the ashes of the crematoriums to where Israel is and where the Jewish people is today. And the last message I want to part with is that Israel is important for all of us. All of us have a stake for it. Israel does not just belong to the Jews in Israel, it belongs to all the Jews in the world. This is the Jewish state, and even though you're American or Russian or whatever, this is also your place, and there is a stake there, and responsibility. Different type of responsibilities. The Jews in Israel, our responsibility is to defend the country, of course, to develop it economically, to make the political decisions. But Jews around the world, I think their chief responsibility right now is advocacy and political support. This is what we need, the political support. We have won the military wars. We shouldn't be complacent, and we should keep on our toes and keep the military edge and strategic edge. But right now, the military is something that we can contend with. Economy, certainly we can contend with. It's the political war where we are behind. It's an uphill, but we can do it. We can do it if we start working on that. And we have to understand that it's not unique to the Jewish people to be attacked. We see today and throughout history that people that could not defend themselves by themselves were killed, were ruined. Armenians in 1915, Darfur people, Rwanda people, the Syrians today, the Bosnians back in the 90s. The world, the international community is hypocritical, cynical at best, very, very late in reaction, and if they do, it's too late, it's too little, we know it, certainly after we lost 6 million of our people 70 years ago. So this is why the most important thing for us today, as Jews all over, is to make sure that Israel can continue to defend itself by itself. By the way, this defense doesn't include only the people who live in Israel, but all over. You know when was the last pogrom against Jews in a collective manner? 1946, 1 year after the Holocaust, they still dared in Kielce, Poland, to pogrom against the Jews. This was the last pogrom. From 1948, when Israel was re-established, there were no pogroms. There were a lot of anti-Semitic events, but not in a manner of a pogrom, because they know Jewish blood is not cheap anymore, and we will take care of it. When the 11 Israeli athletes in Munich were murdered by Palestinian Muslim Black September, none of the perpetrators is alive today. This is what Israel should mean to all of us, not just the great past we have, but also the great future. And to make sure that we have to keep this ability to defend ourselves, I want to finish with a story. It's a true story, and there is a lesson in it. I'm sure some of you remember Henry Kissinger, who was a legendary Secretary of State. He tried to make peace between Israel and Egypt and Syria after '73 war. So he came to the region and he stayed there for a long time, just shuttling between Damascus, Jerusalem, and Cairo, trying to disengage the forces, make peace. Of course, it was very difficult, and he was very busy. Now, his staffers made sure he would be very busy because, I was told, then when he had some downtime, he would drive them crazy. So they made sure that he had no blocks of free time. One day, they wake up in Jerusalem at the King David. This is where they stayed. They look in the morning staff meeting at the schedule of the day. They see he has 2 hours downtime, nothing to do. They said, oy vey, we have to find something fast to do. they convinced him to go take a tour at the biblical zoo. There is a biblical zoo in Jerusalem, great zoo. So they take him to the zoo. He goes over. The director of the zoo welcomes him. And after the 2 hours, they finish the tour at the lion's cage. They see there a huge, ferocious-looking lion playing very nicely with a little lamb. Kissinger couldn't believe his eyes. He said, wow, how did you do it? This is Isaiah prophecy. How do you do it? Because I need to make peace here in Vietnam. The director of the zoo says, no problem. It's very easy. We just bring a fresh new lamb every day. The lesson is, Israel will no longer be the lamb. Thank you very much.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to Jem, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.